Line up! Move it! On your feet, right now, 2 lines!
Every story set in a high school is filled with supporting characters, varying degrees of interesting, and Carrie is no exception. One of the highlights of every adaptation is in fact seeing what the supporting cast is going to turn out like.
You all did a shitty thing yesterday. A really shitty thing.
What with Carrie focusing heavily on the girl world, the popular girls are the most prominent. So, in the book we have the following. Tina Blake, a friend of Chris's who shows her the prom queen nominations, but isn't in on the prank. Norma Watson, the pushy class president who, along with Tina, survives the disaster, and the two later write about it together. Helen Shyres, one of Sue's friends who also feels bad about the shower incident and gets nominated for prom queen. Frieda Jason, the date of Tommy's friend George, who is also a prom queen nominee and is nice to Carrie when she arrives.
I'm so nervous. Oh, it's okay. You're gonna sit with us.
So what about the films?
Wipe that smirk off your face, Norma.
In the 1976 film, Norma Watson becomes a major character.
Is there anything else, Norma? No, it's calm. Thank you, Norma.
Although she has more in common with Tina Blake, who is pretty much dropped.
I won't say a word, I promise I'm your best friend.
Some of this was thanks to a little improv by her actress PJ Soles, who did this and impressed Brian De Palma enough to write more scenes for her.
And I hit her over the head with my baseball hat, which I wore in every scene, and that was the other thing. I wore it to the audition, and Brian said, when you show up, you keep that hat. And I said, what do you mean? He said, just bring the hat. And the first thing on the set when he saw me was, did you bring your red baseball hat?
Norma here is Chris's gal pal, but she becomes far more complicit in the bullying, where the bitchiness in the book was only implied by association. She's just as sadistic as Chris, and perhaps borrows a bit from the sociopathic side of Chris in the book.
I want to know now, Chris. Just wait. Can you give me a hint?
And here she has an active role in the prank.
Balance, please, thank you.
In the book, Billy and Chris acted on their own. Billy's friends help kill the pigs, and Tina shows Chris the nominations, but none of them know what's going to happen, aside from a vague mention where Chris says she set it up with her friends. Norma here has an active role in rigging the votes to make sure Carrie becomes prom queen,
I have some more ballots for you guys.
and she leads the others in laughing once the blood is poured. There are others helping her, but she gets the most focus. And she's singled out for a death scene. This actually goes hand in hand with the softening of Carrie's character mentioned in the first video, giving her more tormentors who set up her eventual humiliation and being punished in her rampage. Norma survives the prom in the book, but gets killed off personally here. This sets the trend for Chris to get a gal pal who is just as nasty as her, helps her pull off the prank, and gets a karmic death. In the book, most of the named supporting characters either survive or have their fates unconfirmed, but as film is a visual medium, this represents the need to give Carrie's tormentors more development and connection with the audience to allow us to feel something in the massacre. This is probably why the teachers get killed off as well. As for the rest of the girls, Helen's status as Sue's friend is removed and she's instead presented as another member of Chris's posse.
Did you hear about Tommy Ross? What?
And the choice of actress is an interesting one, since she doesn't look like the popular elite we'd later see in teen-focused media in the decades to come.
Ultra popular, ultra pretty, ultra etc.
There is more merit to this than you might think, since a lot of bully cliques do have wannabes on the fringe who are just trying to avoid being bullied themselves.
Why is he doing it? Everybody is talking about it.
Frieda gets to have Helen's role as Sue's friend, and also being the one who's nice to Carrie at the prom, mostly for convenience purposes.
Hey, where did you buy that dress? I love it. I made it. Me?
Their deaths are only implied, which could be another side effect of the more sympathetic Carrie the film gives us. Only imply the deaths of the nicer characters to make Carrie seem more tragic than villainous. And hey, Miss Collins did kind of bring it on herself here. While The Rage Carrie 2 does mention some survivors,
73 people died. A few few of us survived, but...
And there are a few in the book. This film emphasises that Carrie spares no one except Sue.
Those girls over there, right now they're at their peak. They'll never be more pretty or more popular.
The 2002 film has a longer runtime and thus can develop these girls a bit more. So Norma Watson, Tina Blake and Helen Shyres become prominent supporting characters.
Do any of you ever stop to think? Helen? Tina?
Tina Blake pretty much takes on the characteristics of Norma from the 1976 film.
Oh, hey, Carrie! Do you want to come sit in Chris's desk today? I don't think she's going to be using it since you got her kicked out of school.
Down to being as openly bitchy as Chris, rigging the voting at the prom, and being singled out for a nasty death. She also shows us what Katharine Isabelle's interpretation of a 2000s ditz is.
Oh, you think she's ugly, don't you? Well, you're ugly.
Like Emily de Ravin's Chris, she's heavily influenced by the wave of teen media that started in the 80s.
This is the new ballot, or as I like to call it, ballot 2.0.
Angela Bettis joked that the film was really Carrie meets 90210.
Good luck!
The fact that the votes are rigged and Tina now goes out of her way to show Chris the nominations again makes Carrie more sympathetic, as does Tina's cruel laughing when the blood is poured. Tina also is seen trying to slap people out of the way when she's trying to escape, and while she is singled out for a nasty death, it is still a little accidental. So with our most sympathetic Carrie of the three, her death is not going to make anyone sad.
You think what happened, you think that was all because someone wanted to hurt Carrie?
Norma gets an expanded role, played by Meghan Black, whose voice you'll recognise if you were a fan of X-Men Evolution or Class of the Titans.
I think you really are an angel.
She's shown to be not as liked by the popular girls, despite occasionally participating in the bullying.
Oh god, here comes Norma. Life's too short.
She also gives the detective on the case the most apt description of the school caste system you'll ever hear.
I was like this. You got your jocks and your ultras at the top of the food chain. Then your student body leaders, such as myself, and then the brains and then the geeks, which is a subtle distinction, because brains tend to be more aesthetically pleasing and less likely to join the marching band or choir. You know.
And where was Carrie White on this food chain?
As far down as you can go. She was a Plath.
While she was shown as rather annoying in the book, here when she meets Carrie at the prom, she's much more sincere.
She's glowing, don't you think?
You're glowing. You look so beautiful!
She survives and provides some testimony, while apparently still being quite peppy 2 weeks after most of her classmates were murdered.
I'm sad she died and all, but I'm sad everyone died, you know?
According to Angela Bettis, some of the ideas for the TV series included the town trying to recover from the disaster, which would suggest a recurring role for Norma.
You don't know if you want to slap her or feel sorry for her.
This would explain why the film has so many named survivors of the massacre.
Where'd you get that dress?
I made it.
Shut up!
You shut up.
Rounding off these girls is Helen Shyres, played by Chelan Simmons.
Helen?
Helen is actually one of my favourite things about the 2002 film, as she has a nice little character arc.
What are they saying? That you and Carrie White are having a lesbian affair and you had Tommy take her to prom to throw people off.
She begins the story very much a crony of Chris and Tina, bullying Carrie because everybody else does. She doesn't feel remorse as early as Sue does, but you can see shades of guilt in some of the scenes.
Great, so you're a saint of moral bitches. Something like that.
Then at the prom, it takes Carrie extending an olive branch to make her go, hey, this girl's alright.
If they decide to run away together, I'll dance with you.
After presumably a couple of hours of spending time with Carrie, she's giving Tina death glares and sincerely voting for her as prom queen.
Well, I'm voting for you.
And this time it's Helen who sees the bucket right before the blood's poured, which to me works a lot better than having Sue show up for some random reason. She delivers a nice little slap to Kenny for laughing at the prank and is seen trying to help Tommy out during the disaster. And sadly enough, she dies when Carrie electrocutes a bunch of people. And that helps convey that this massacre is a tragedy as well as catharsis.
Did you guys see Sue today?
She looked awful.
I know Chris isn't coming.
Well, she's suspended. I think she'll crash.
I mean, you never know with Chris, right?
The 2013 film has a recognisable group of popular girls, and most of the names are modernised, since you probably won't find too many Normas, Rhondas, Helens, Friedas and Myras in a 2010s high school.
Nick, Lizzy?
Let's go, ladies!
Heather?
So now we have Heather and the twins Nicki and Lizzy. Tina gets to keep her name though.
No one's gonna see you, Teeny.
And she of course takes on the persona of 1976's Norma.
You're really trying to help her, right?
She appears to be flirting with the English teacher as well. That's new.
So I think I'm gonna have the after party.
She, Heather and the twins form a nice little girl posse who sadly don't get fleshed out enough.
We should post it. No, I'm in it.
Although they did get a little more in deleted scenes. In this case, all of them are in on the prank. Or they were intended to be.
Good luck, kids. You've got my vote.
Tina is the only one who's definitely in on it, as the others are only implied. In addition to letting Chris and Billy in and helping switch the ballots, she plays the humiliating video of Carrie after the blood is poured. Nicki and Lizzy were just best friends in the first draft of the script, but got changed to twins at some point.
Nicki. I mean Lizzy.
Nicki was the one who sneaked Chris and Billy in, and Lizzy tripped Carrie up after the blood was poured.
Heather, where's Chris?
What are you talking about? She's not here.
Heather, in an early draft of the script, didn't appear to be in on the prank, whereas in the finished film, it looks like she definitely knew about it.
Are you seeing this?
Wait! Come on!
This lack of development for the popular girls is a bit disappointing because... while the massacre in the first two films was mostly just chaos and accidents brought on by the hose and sprinklers, here, Carrie targets all her tormentors and singles them out for nasty deaths. Heather gets thrown face first into a glass door, Jackie gets crushed by the bleachers, and the twins? All I can say is Jesus. And Tina gets probably a more cathartic death than Chris does. It is a testament to Kimberly Peirce's direction that she can make these deaths satisfying from a narrative point of view, while horrifying us at the same time. In some ways, it's the treatment of the popular girls that really makes me long for the planned film Kimberly Peirce wanted to make.
Desjardins was right. Did a shitty thing for no reason.
Bullshit!
There is such good material being played with, just like in the 2002 film, but studio-mandated reshoots water down what could have been some of the strongest parts of this.
All set?
Zoe Belkin in particular begs for more screen time.
No!
And I think she could have equaled PJ Souls if she'd gotten it.
Wow. Why don't you do a kiss or something while you're at it? Oh, baby.
The Strain twins likewise have great screen presence and make the Watsons memorable, even if they have barely any lines. Heather sadly just feels inconsistent.
Sue. Hey, are you okay?
I feel if we had a merger between 2002's characterization and 2013's catharsis, we may have had something even more powerful. But if FX is going to make a series out of this, there is plenty of material to allow for a solid supporting cast.
Come on, you hotshots!
So we come to the end of my little series on analysing Carrie. It's been a lot of fun revisiting one of my favourite teenage reads and finding ways to appreciate all three adaptations for what they bring to the table.
You see, Mama? You see, it's all gonna be okay.
I've even found myself checking out some versions of the musical.
I worry, what can I possibly do to squeeze in? How? Why not now? When will I belong?
It's pretty rare for a non-franchise property to get more than one adaptation, let alone 3.
He's trying to trick me again, I know.
And horror fans just have to look at the descending quality of the Black Christmas remakes to appreciate that we were pretty lucky to get 3 versions of Carrie that managed to be solid in different ways. The 1976 original is iconic and still beloved, but the fan bases for the 2002 and 2013 films are quite big too.
She's a good girl. Are any of those girls good?
and it just goes to show that 3 different sets of crews worked very hard on giving us something to enjoy. And that is a very odd statement to make about a story where a girl murders her entire class.
Look at your ass! What?
Oh, okay, now who's gay, right?
Okay, after seeing your ass, the whole nun in street clothes thing, it's no longer acceptable.